Development and Redevelopment Authority meeting to order. Looks like we do have a quorum this evening, so we'll move to our second order of business, minutes. Are there any comments or concerns about the minutes from January 9th was the last time we met? All right, motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor signal by saying aye. Aye. And opposed, nay. All right, motion carries. We'll move to bills. John, anything in the bills we should note?
Sure, Mr. President. Looking at bills, we had a $4,700 bill for a small area plan that is near completion. We're taking that to City Council on Monday night, and we'll talk more about that next month. Some bills for SRF Consulting. They're working with us on Block 28 on the old Dick's Barber Shop, relocating tenants within there. And then other bills related to maintenance of the block, and then some bills related to subscriptions and conferences for Alex and I.
Any comments or concerns about the bills? All right, motion.
Second.
All in favor to approve, signal by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. All right, and down to business. Item A, Block 28 Gateway, Vermilion Corridor Vision.
All right. Going to put up something here I hope is familiar to you. And this is our plan for Block 28 per our Vermilion Street development plan. And what I wanted to do tonight was to run through this with you, and so I'm not going out on assumptions that may or may not be correct. I was discussing this with Alex, about 6 weeks ago, and he said, this plan that we did for Vermilion Street was back in 2018, and 2018 doesn't seem that long ago to be now, but that's 7 years ago. So it'd be good to check in to make sure as we're marketing this property to developers that we're marketing a vision that is consistent with what HEDRA is looking for. So let's take a look at what we've got here from this 2018 plan. So looking at the block, we are looking kind of south and east. So 4th Street, 4th Street is here, Vermilion Street is here, City Hall's kitty corner. So what we're looking for on the corner here, per this plan, was a 4-story mixed-use building, commercial on the ground floor, maybe office or residential above. Now, there's a big caveat right now. 2018 office versus post-COVID office is a much different scenario, so probably more likely to be residential on there. But I think the main point we were looking for at that intersection was to have something that would be a good, when you come across the bridge into Hastings, to be a landmark, or to give a great vision to what the city is compared to what we have out there now. So having something with mass, having something that's a little bit unique, perhaps some art in the front of it, those types of things is what we were looking at for that plan. But ultimately, when you take a look at the density of it, about a 4-story building with commercial on the ground floor. When you look at the units of this building itself, this could be something that could be around the lines of about 80 units or so would be my estimate on that. As you look to the south here, you've got a plaza area in between there, and then a secondary building which would be a little bit smaller, 3-story mixed use, ground floor commercial, offices above. Again, the office portion may not be there, but more to have another building there along Vermilion Street. Towards the rear of the property, there's a lot of on-site parking. The one thing that I think this plan fails to take into consideration is the proximity to Wilson Park right over here. So you've got a nice amenity, and this building site really doesn't pay any reflection to that other than a parking lot. The parking is going to be necessary for the residents and necessary for the building on that. One of the questions that we've been asking developers is, the potential of going underground with the parking, and that's going to really be based upon the underlying bedrock in here. In other areas within the downtown, the bedrock has been shallow and been difficult to work with to go down for underground parking. So this is what the plan lays out here. The building setbacks would be at the street line along most of the frontages, and so I wanted to pause here and seek any comments that HEDRA may have on this plan, or any comments they'd have towards development of this block. Anything that you would see or give direction differently as I'm meeting with developers. And I'll stand for any questions, comments.
John, the one thing that strikes me is, you know, we're looking at fire hall improvements or replacement or whatever the needs so that we are in compliance. Is there a concern about how we place things in block 28 versus, what is it, block 29, the next one? And how, you know, I'm trying to envision how an enlarged fire department with maybe more noise, more whatever, sitting next to maybe, you know, residential property is what I'm thinking. I like the design. I've always liked the design. The one heartbreak of the deal is when the DOT said, no, we're closing up Fifth Street. But the one thing I would think about is there a possibility that the two buildings could have a skyway across that center parklet area that's in between the buildings there? When I first saw the design years ago, I really liked that area where tables could be set and there could be, you know, restaurants or some kind of businesses that would have outside seating in there, and it would be close to the highway. There might have to be a need for some, you know, sheltering of some kind of fencing to kind of keep the traffic flow not so directly into the area there, but I like that. But my only other question was, you know, it's like, okay, depending on what happens next door, how would that affect, you know, a residential place, right, solid, right there where you have a heavy concentration of people that would, looking for residences that would need to be, you know, soundproofed. I don't know what the right word would be to kind of help that situation out. The other thing that, in looking at that and having some history, knowing that the natural underground water flow coming down the hill and underneath the old Couturier properties and through our property and across Fifth Street there and running over to Wilson Park where there was a natural watering hole for animals there at once upon a time. So I would be really cautious when saying, hey, you know, what that bedrock is underneath there and where a water source might be a real problem because of the natural water flow coming down from higher elevations to the east and crossing over and eventually getting to the Mississippi River. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've heard too that there might be a natural spring that runs like on that property. So I think that is a real legitimate concern on it. And I like it. I agree that, you know, with office and commercial stuff, it'll be real interesting to find out what somebody envisions for that. And I don't know, I mean, I was trying to think of a public use that might fit in that space too. Can't think of one right now. But my one question is, so the property that's on the north facing, it's right now you're kind of looking at a filling station and a parking lot, and I'm not sure if you can see the bridge from there. Is there any I mean, if I were renting, I'd rather look at a park than a filling station and a parking lot. And I don't know what the possibility is to kind of turn it a little bit, and so units are facing the park, but that's something for a developer to figure out.
So have something that where the building may wrap around more towards this direction. Okay.
Thank you. John, I really like the design of this plan. I know one of it, something that it reminds me of is it mimics a little bit of, up in St. Paul Park, the Lunds and Byerly is a really good, there's a double stack of this and it looks pretty similar to that. And they have a really good infrastructure there and plan there with that. And so seeing this design very similar to that is really reassuring. But I do agree, I do have, some concerns with the bedrock there, but also mainly, like Councilmember Pemble was saying, is the soundproofing of that as well. Just making sure, because I know I live on Tyler Street. I can hear them at all times of the night. I can't imagine being right next to it too.
Yeah, I would agree with those comments. I think aesthetically, coming into town, it's beautiful as far as being called the Gateway Project. It does the job very nicely there, but I do agree with whoever's living there, using it. Facing that park would be much more appealing than the highway, especially if there's an eatery or a patio. It'd be a lot quieter, and I could see people wanting to look out their window or, have a meal and be able to watch the park and see what their kids are up to. I could see some value in that.
Yeah, to that end too, love the courtyard too, the possibility of having a cafe there or something and be able to eat there. But as someone who lives along 61 and can be very loud, if we turned it like we talked about and having that courtyard face the park, and you could have a meal when maybe looking at a park versus a highway is, I don't know if that's an option, but be a little quieter too maybe. All right, well, I think we can move to our next order of business there with the B, facade improvement grant language, unless you had anything else to add.
No, I didn't. I appreciate the direction. Okay, facade improvement grant language. It was brought up a meeting or two ago, and we've had some experiences with other facade improvement grants in which we grant a specific number based upon an estimate, and then the actual construction cost is a little bit more than that, and they have to come back for an amendment. And the question was asked, is there a way that we can avoid that from occurring? So we did talk with our city attorney, and she proposed that we would structure the resolution for granting it to not put a specific number in there, but to put in the language such as the lesser amount of 1/3 of the total eligible project cost or $5,000. Under this project, or under the grant, it's a 2-to-1 match. So they have to provide 2/3 of the cost, we provide 1/3 of the cost. What this would allow for is those minor changes to occur without an amendment taking place before the board here. So looking for your direction and action in making that change. So this would be a change to the standard verbiage that we would have on our upcoming resolutions for facade improvement grants.
Yeah, John, I would just like to say I am all in favor of this. I think it makes all the sense in the world. Especially, we review the bills every meeting, so any kind of authorization of additional funds would be reviewed through there. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this program has been overfunded at least the last couple of years, if not for quite a while.
Right, yeah, we've been under-prescribed on it. We haven't given out the full amount that we've allocated, correct?
Yep. So I think it makes total sense. Thanks for suggesting it.
Mm-hmm.
So can we at the same time, I know we and it's in here somewhere, look at broadening it to the entire town? Can we do that as part of this, or
Sure.
as a friendly amendment, or do we need anything
It
else?
depends on how the board would like to take it. I have it down
Okay.
here for this
Oh, okay.
specific action
A
here,
separate
and then
action.
talk
Okay.
about that next.
I remember it somewhere. Thanks. We
No
can do that.
problem. So if there's a desire to bring this forward, I'd ask for a motion and action on that.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve the change in verbiage for the facade improvement program resolutions, specifying the dollar amount rewarded to 1/3 of the eligible project cost.
Second.
All in favor of the motion, please signal by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. All right, item C, facade improvement program changes.
Now we'll walk into the potential expansions to the program itself here. So a little bit of history. In 2022, for 3 years, we have had this program installed. And it was to support businesses within downtown and Vermillion Street to assist in repairing property exteriors. So the first year in 2022, we allocated $50,000 and we spent $50,000, got that out to the community, had a lot of great projects that came forward. In 23 and 24, we had projects come forward, but at a reduced rate. We were underutilized and spent roughly about half of the $50,000 that we allocated towards it. So we were noodling around with some potential changes for consideration. One of them was to remove the locational restrictions in place. Right now, we're focusing it on Vermillion Street and downtown. We would make it citywide. That could be an option. Two, it could include parking lot repair as an eligible expense. We did have one of these last year. I don't know how often they would come up, but it would be something that certainly has an exterior benefit from a visual standpoint. The third one would be include interior projects as eligible, painting, remodeling, customer-facing spaces, those types of things. So when we looked at this originally, we really wanted to have this project be to show some improvement on the exterior of a structure. This would be a little bit different than that, so that would be a change within there. The program itself, we would still recommend moving forward with the 2-to-1 match, so that would be unchanged. So we're asking for tonight is any direction on this. We have three things in particular here. We could, if you're in favor of doing all three, we could do all three. If there's, we can go on an a la carte if there's one or two, or if there's no changes that should be done, we would take that direction. So looking for any discussion, direction on that, and I'll open it up. Thank you.
John, I think that, yes, the project started as a process through, the downtown, but I think we should take it and put this a citywide project for facade work that meets the requirements. I maybe think that parking lot business could come in too, but I really don't, at this point, don't want to dive into interiors of commercial buildings. But the first two items, I would be interested in making a motion to move forward that direction.
John, I agree with Commissioner Pemble as well. I think it's only fair to widen it for other businesses throughout Hastings. And I also agree about the interior projects. I don't know about that right now. And I don't know, I'm just a little 50-50 about the lot repair as well, but I'm definitely for widening the restrictions.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say I share very similar sentiments to both comments there. One thing I know that, excuse me, you and Alex have pretty good relationships with the businesses throughout the community here. Have we heard of any businesses more citywide that are interested in this program? Is there like a pent-up demand for some of these
I
projects?
haven't heard specifically towards this program, but we always talk to people who want to do projects that are having difficult doing them. So I hope that this would be helpful for that.
Yep, thanks.
In regards to the parking lot comments, would that be restricted to, say, the front-facing portions of the building? I mean, I'd be more in favor, if it's a facade improvement, anything front-facing would make more sense to me than like a back lot, which, if that's the case, would that extend to landscape projects or anything like that, just dressing up the front of the business? It's be a slippery slope too, right? But that's something I'd want to discuss and define. And then would there be, I like the citywide idea a lot. Would there be restrictions around it being in a commercial district, right? Someone's business out of, a hole in the wall or their home, is that of similar value to the community as a business or commerce area?
Yeah, I would recommend that it would stay with the commercial district with that, not go into residential.
I agree. I like options 1 and 2. I do not think 3 should be eligible at this time, as this is supposed to be a facade improvement plan. I also agree with Commissioner Johnson on the what were you just saying? The Yes, commercial districts only specifically.
In the guidelines, does it describe more like of the businesses versus someone having a business from home? Or, I mean, is there more of a description explaining that?
I believe so. I
So someone
believe
doesn't
that
apply.
there's some information in there that it limits it to the downtown and Vermillion Street commercial areas. I think there's language related to that, but I think the
Okay.
commercial aspect is key to this.
Right.
I would move that we recommend, that we adopt item 1, the removal, remove the location restrictions to include any commercial business within the city eligible for funding. And number 2, include front-facing parking lots as an eligible expense and remove item 3.
Second.
All in favor, signal by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Thank you. Moving on to item D here, we have a signature for a legal services agreement with Campbell Knutson. Campbell Knutson has been supplementing our legal assistance for tax increment financing and development projects since 2017. The current contract has expired, and we're just seeking an execution of that. So they're not our regular city attorney or HEDRA attorney for this, but they offer more specialized services, especially on redevelopment and tax increment. So I can stand for any questions.
John, this is a new contract. This is not an add-on to an existing contract that's run out, right? This is
Yeah.
creating a new,
It is a new contract, very similar to the one that's expired with the same firm.
I make a motion that we continue and create the new contract that fulfills the needs for HEDRA at this.
All right, all in favor, signal by saying aye. Aye.
I think I need to second it first. I'll second. Oh, you did? I'm sorry, I missed it. Okay.
She said it over there.
Okay, all in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. All right, motion carries.
And now we have a facade improvement grant before us already here. We're looking at 411 Vermillion Street. You may recall a couple of years ago, the same block of building here had a door repair that was done, taking an unsightly residential door and turning into a commercial door. They're doing it at another portion of that building with this proposal. It's about a $5,400 cost altogether, so 1/3 of that would be $1,808. Based upon the language that was just adopted, the resolution would state what we had adopted there, that it would be no more than the 1/3 of $5,000. So I can stand for any questions.
All motion to approve.
All in favor, signal by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. All right, motion carries.
Last time we have here under action items is a right of first refusal agreement for the southwest corner of Pleasant Drive and South Frontage Road. HEDRA probably recalls that last year we had an agreement with Mint Development for purchase of this property for a national retailer. That project did not follow through, and the agreement was canceled ultimately by Mint. We have another entity that is sniffing around at the property, looking to do some investigative work, especially with soils and stormwater, to see if a project could work there. But before he puts money into that, wanted to have some assurances that the property would not be sold out from under him. So our attorney did put together this right of first refusal agreement. What this does is it compels HEDRA to notify Stretch Development or Stretch Holdings, Joe Schnell, if an offer is received for the property, and then Stretch is allowed 5 business days to advise HEDRA of its intention to purchase the property at that point. There's no other obligations from there, and then there's a 1-year time frame within the project, within the agreement itself. So I could stand for any questions.
John, are we doing anything to actively market that parcel, or is it just kind of like we're waiting for something to happen?
We really haven't at this point. You know, I don't know. We just haven't.
John, when they have the first right of refusal with 5 days and agreement to purchase, do we have a price in mind already, or how, is that just negotiated at the time of that first right of refusal?
It would be negotiated at that time. We've not spoken of any purchase price for the property at this point. I think the value of that property is going to be dependent upon the work necessary to grade and provide stormwater retention that's there existing.
Okay, thank you.
I presume the wording would be that we contingently accept an offer on the property? I mean, we might get offers we don't like, right?
Right, right. But it's more of a notification that if there's something comes in, they get the opportunity to match it before we would sign a dotted line on anybody.
And they felt 5 days was adequate for them to wrap up whatever homework they're doing and make a decision?
They agreed to it. They had a much longer time frame I didn't like.
Right on.
I think it's fair. I mean, the unique properties of this property, the geography, anybody's going to have to come in there and do some real looking at how their building's going to fit into the water storm, the storm issue and everything else. So I think specifically with this property, it's only fair that somebody gets that right of refusal if they're going to put a couple bucks in to figure out how everything's going to work.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Anything, property sitting idle, right? We've had a little bit of interest, but I think it makes sense to do that. So we'll look for a motion to approve this. All in favor, signal by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. All right, down to item 5, reports and information.
Yeah, within your packet, I did include the fourth quarter report from Open to Business. Looking at last year, they met with 7 Hastings businesses and 4 Hastings residents. I don't believe there was any loans given to either of those, but there were other loans throughout the county that were given. They did host a number of different seminars, both in person and online, to provide assistance on different programs that are available and questions that people have. So you can stand for any questions on the report. Okay. If there's no questions on that, I can move on to the next item here, which is our strategic plan update. Throw that on the screen here. Recall that about a year and a half ago, not even that, less than a year ago, May of 2024, we adopted our strategic plan, our action plan, which was 24 and 25 steps for development. What I did is I went through there and highlighted where we're at with different items, just as a report back to HEDRA, and then if there's any comment or discussion on the items that we have here, it would be a good time to do that as part of the check-in period. So I think one of the primary items that we've established for action is Block 28, the Gateway Project. This is our highest priority. That was clear from our meetings last year. And we've made some good progress in the last year on that one with the acquisition of the largest piece of that one. Where we're at now and what we'll be continuing to do over the next couple of months is meeting with developers to get an idea of any obstacles and desire of that site for development. So the discussion that we had tonight pertaining to the concept plan for the Vermillion Street plan is excellent, so we can share that with them. But the initial conversations I've had have been very fruitful on it. I've been meeting with individuals that I've known in the past that have done similar types of development in similar types of settings, and then also reaching out to other people that through other contacts that do this. Where I hope to be in the future on this one is to be able to, once I get an idea of what the questions would be on there, sit down and go through some planning with the board as far as the next steps go. Are there any sort of investigative work or other things that we need to do prior to letting this out for, not for contract, but for plans to be drawn up and for a contract to be established with the developer? Or are we at the point in which we can just do that? Anytime you're dealing with a development situation from a developer standpoint, the amount of information that is unknown, that has disappeared, is the most beneficial to them. So we're trying to determine what sort of variables and questions are out there, what questions we might answer ourselves, and what questions we may leave up to developers. So that's kind of where we're at with that at this point. Some of the other ones we have, Westview Mall, we did get some budget funding approved to assist in subdividing and investing proceeds into site improvement on that one, so we'll be working with the mall to hopefully get that completed and make sure that they're interested in doing so. With Block 15, this is the Luke Seward block. We did cancel the development agreement on that one. I've had no other communication with Mr. Seward since that concluded. We did have the short-term lease for 2 years on the 213, 215 Ramsey Street property. So I think from my standpoint, that's a midterm project. We have Block 28 first, and then once that's completed, perhaps we take a look at the Block 15 property. Highway 61 and 46, there's really not too much to report on that. Block 1 development, that's an interesting one in trying to figure out the timing of the wastewater treatment plant. We do have a meeting scheduled in the next couple of weeks with Metropolitan Council to hopefully learn more about what future plans may be and when that property might be available for development. Actually, I got ahead of myself. Block 1, that's north of Art Space. That one, we're looking to do something in conjunction with the water treatment property on that one. And Hastings Creamery is another one you're probably interested in. I have monthly phone calls with the attorney representing the creamery. There's not a lot to report, unfortunately. I did talk to him or via email today on the project. They're moving out some trucks. They've done some work on that. They're doing some auctioning off of that. They're still going back and forth with the insurance company pertaining to settlement on that one. So that's still something that's out there at this point. The other thing out there is our small area plan for Heart of Hastings. That might be something we're to request in the 26 budget, so we punted on that a bit. And then downtown parking, we went through a parking study the last couple of years. We'll likely do that again in 2025 with our intern to provide more up-to-date information on that. So from a project standpoint, are there any questions from the group here?
John, on Block 28, is everybody moved out with the exception of Spiral? And are the utilities and stuff shut down so that there won't be a problem with anything happening in those vacant buildings?
Yeah, the Spiral's open, obviously, in the Dick's Barber Shop building. At this point, we have one residential tenant left, which they will be gone within the next, I think by the end of the month.
Okay.
So, yeah, we will be shutting off that building at that point. But we had someone move out last week, and the last person is out at the end of the month.
Because I saw the dumpster set up there, was it last week or something, on the side, in the saloon side, where they had the
Okay.
open lot. Secondly to that, is the house all shut down on Fifth Street too?
Oh, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
all, okay. Then moving on to Vermilion River Shores, I see that there looks to be progress, I'll say. Have you had any contact with those individuals? I see that they're working on siding and windows and whatever else now, and I'm going, gee.
Yeah, our building department's in contact with them on the improvements that they're doing on the building itself, and it's been a very long project. I have had no conversations with the owner of that building in about a year and a half, despite many times attempting to contact them on various questions like, hey, we have a lot of people calling us that would like to get more information, know where to contact, to get a waiting list. Where should I send them? It's a very strange situation.
And lastly, I got asked this today, Sweet Memories, the place next to Terry's, what's happening with that property?
Sweet memory. I'm drawing a blank.
Sweet Living,
Oh, Sweet Living, okay, that's why I'm drawing a blank. That one, I did contact them a couple of weeks ago. They plan to break ground this summer. They said that last summer too, so take it with a grain of salt. I'll go back a little bit, they received their entitlements for land use, I think in '22 on that project. What they did do is they did purchase the property and they platted the property. So I feel a little more confidence in there as opposed to if they had some sort of option to purchase that they need to execute. They've got skin in the game on this one, so I hope that'll happen this year.
Okay. And lastly, the Creamery area, I see them moving around some trailers, but it doesn't seem like much else is happening, and that's just my comment. I'll leave it go at that.
I think your observations are correct.
All right, I think we can move on to item C, development updates.
Yeah, development updates, went through, I think, some of these things a little bit throughout the meeting. Highway 55 plan, going to council on Monday. We'll discuss that a little bit more at our April meeting. The National Guard Armory has started some digging out there for stormwater ponding and parking lots, so that's going good. On our zoning code update, we met with the consultants this morning on the last half of the zoning code, walking us through that. So we're going to be reviewing that internally over the next few weeks and get comments back on that. The Walden development on Highway 316, the portion that we annexed in for about 400 to 500 units. Not much to report on that one. I did sit down with the developer last month. He claims that he is going to be moving forward in submitting land use applications to get his approvals this summer. I hope that's the case, but I don't know if that'll move forward or not. We talked a little bit about 418 Vermillion Street. We're also been working with our Public Works Department, 1292 North Frontage, or the Carbonis building. This is the site for one of our water treatment plants for PFAS, or central water treatment plant. The city is looking to acquire the property there, but that also involves the relocation of two existing commercial tenants, Carboni's Pizza and Stacy Stars. Carboni's has been a little more challenging just because it's a restaurant and there's a lot more equipment and retrofits that are involved if it's a non-restaurant space. We've worked with them. We haven't been able to find a place for them yet, but they've also got on board a commercial realtor to help them out with things. So we will continue to be in contact on that. From the Stacy Stars, it appears that they found a place in Hastings in which they can relocate. We're finalizing some of those items right now, which will be great. And I can stand for any questions.
All right, thanks, John.
Thank you. That's all I've got.
All right, with that, I would take a motion to adjourn. All in favor, signal by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. All right, meeting adjourned.